Long ago, when gods still walked among mortals and the thunder of Zeus echoed across the heavens, there was a fertile land known as Thessaly. Its king Erysichthon was a man of pride-rich, powerful, and utterly consumed by vanity. Yet, within his heart, there was no room for reverence toward the gods. Under his reign, the people prospered, and harvests overflowed. But instead of offering gratitude to Demeter, goddess of grain and fertility, Erysichthon believed he alone was the source of his land's abundance, and in that arrogance, he committed one of the gravest sins a mortal could. He defied the divine. At the heart of that grove stood a magnificent oak tree, so large that 30 men could not encircle it. It was the dwelling of a dryad, a wood nymph blessed by Demeter. When Erysichthon's axe struck the trunk, the earth shuddered. From the wound gushed blood, and a voice then, trembling, divine cried out in agony, "Erysichthon, Demeter sees you, and she will make you no hunger." But the king only laughed. With one final swing, he felled the sacred tree, and soon, his men ravaged the entire grove. The air filled with the smell of sap and death. Prayers were crushed beneath their boots. The wood of the gods was carried back to his palace to build a monument born of hubris and blasphemy. But the king only laughed. With one final swing, he felled the sacred tree, and soon, his men ravaged the entire grove. The air filled with the smell of sap and death. Prayers were crushed beneath their boots. The wood of the gods was carried back to his palace to build a monument born of hubris and blasphemy. From her golden fields, Demeter heard the cry of her dying nymph. Her face turned dark as storm clouds. Erysichthon, she hissed, "You will pay not with your crown, but with your flesh." Yet she did not wish to stain her own hands. Instead, she sent a mountain nymph to seek the aid of another goddess, a creature feared even by the gods themselves. That goddess was hunger, the spirit of famine and endless craving. Hunger dwelled in a place where no crops grew, where the soil cracked beneath her feet. Her skin was gray and thin, stretched tight over her bones. Her hair hung in filthy tangles, her nails long and black, and her breath reeked of decay. When the mountain nymph approached, she recoiled from the stench. But hunger smiled, her lips curling into something between laughter and pain. A mortal who dares wound Demeter's tree, then let him know what it means to devour his own soul. That night, in silence, Hunger rode through the sky in a chariot drawn by serpents and dragons, gliding over mountains, seas, and fields ripe for harvest. She reached Thessaly and slipped into the palace of Erysichthon. She did not touch him, she merely breathed upon him once, and in that breath, she planted the seed of an unending hunger. Erysichthon awoke, sweating and trembling. He dreamed of banquets, roasted meats, golden bread, and wine overflowing. He summoned his cooks and demanded food mountains of it. He ate, he devoured, he swallowed meat, bread, fruit, wine, yet his stomach only grew emptier. He ate through the night. He ate through the stores of the palace. The people began to whisper. His servants fled in terror. But still, he could not stop. The more he ate, the more he hungered. The pain of emptiness gnawed at his bones. His body weakened, his mind broke. He sold his jewels, his lands, his gold, everything to buy more food. And when there was nothing left to sell, he turned his eyes toward his daughter Mestra. Mestra, Princess of Thessaly, was as graceful as moonlight on still water. She had always feared her father's arrogance, but she had loved him nonetheless. When she learned that he meant to sell her for food, her heart turned to stone. She did not cry. She simply bowed her head and went where she was led. The slavers bound her wrists and dragged her to a ship. As she sailed away, she looked back at the fading palace, the hollow monument to her father's pride. On the dark waters, she remembered Poseidon, god of the sea, the one who had once taken her by force. Once she had cursed his name. Now, she had nothing left but to beg for mercy. "Poseidon," she whispered into the wind, "if ever you pitied me, grant me freedom." And in that instant, Mestra's body shimmered like water. Her form dissolved and reformed, no longer a woman, but a fisherman. She pretended to cast a net and called her captor to help. But when he leaned over the rail, she leaped into the sea and vanished beneath the waves, leaving only a silver fish glinting in the moonlight. Mestra was free for the first time in her life, but her heart, bound by duty, led her back home. She found her father, pale and wasted, gnawing at scraps of food like a starving beast. When he saw her alive, he rejoiced. But upon learning of her divine gift, greed flickered in his hollow eyes. "You can become anyone, anything. Then we will never starve again." And so, once more, he sold her. Each time Mestra used her gift to escape, turning into a bird, a mare, or a deer to flee her captors. Each time she returned, hoping her father had learned his lesson, but he never did. He sold her again and again, his hunger devouring what little love remained. The curse of hunger had not only consumed his body, it had eaten his soul. Years passed, Thessaly became a wasteland. One day, Mestra returned in one of her countless forms. The palace was silent. The halls, once filled with laughter and feasts, now echoed with emptiness. And there, upon the floor, lay her father. He was little more than a skeleton, eyes wild, mouth bloody. His hunger had reached its final stage. He had eaten everything, even himself. With trembling hands, he had torn at his own flesh in desperation, muttering as he died, "I just want to be full, one last time." Then silence fell. Only the wind answered, whispering through the broken windows. A voice that sounded like Demeter herself. "He has tasted the seed of his own sign." Mestra knelt beside her father's lifeless body. No tears came. Her heart was hollow, yet light, for the burden of her father's curse was finally gone. From that day forward, Mestra wandered far and wide. She traveled across lands and seas, changing her shape as she pleased. Sometimes a bird soaring over mountains, sometimes a man walking among strangers. None knew who she was. They only whispered of a being who could never be caught, a woman who had escaped the hunger of gods and men alike. Her story became legend. There was once a princess who was sold to the hunger of humankind. Yet in the end, she found freedom. The tale of Mestra, Princess of Thessaly, endures not just as a warning of arrogance and greed, but as a hymn to freedom, endurance, and the silent strength of a woman defying her fate. If this tale moved you, if you felt the weight of its tragedy and the beauty of its freedom, hit the like button to support the channel. Tell us in the comments, do you think Mestra truly found freedom, or is she still running from destiny? And subscribe for more timeless legends. Tales of gods and mortals. Love and vengeance, light and darkness. Because every myth begins with a choice.